Yeah, Geeta, we are.
Fine. Uh, Good evening and welcome to Talking Films Online. Today we are going to discuss a Malayalam film, Kammattipaadam, and the discussion will be led by Jishnu Krishnan. Jishnu Krishnan is an assistant professor of journalism at St. Claret's College, Bangalore. He has assisted poet turned director and lyricist Anwar Ali documentary called From the Other Shore, based on the life of Malayalam poet Atul Ravi Verma. He has written and directed a biographical documentary, Illi Mangalam Vai, which portrays the history of the institutionalization of classical art forms of Kerala, which was selected for the second SASFF Kolkata. He has also shot, edited, and directed several educational and corporate videos for agencies like NHRD, NCERD, and so on. Dilapidated Well is his latest fiction film. Some of you may recall that we had discussed this film during our short film festival. So, thank you for agreeing to do this for us, Jishnu. Welcome. Over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. This will be the first time I'm talking about a film in a public platform. Yeah. So, Kammattipaadam is one of my personal favorite movies because of three, four things it has, like three, four things which it portrays in its film. One is about a film which talks about Dalits in Kerala in a commercial space, which is very, very unique to that film. Other thing about how what we call is thematically I'm speaking about. I'll go to the making part later, guys. Other thing is how this what we call as development is unfolding. How what we call as this metro cities have been unfolded. The history of it, how it has affected the people who were staying there. So Kammattipaadam says such a history, portrays such a history in a very how violence has unfolded in those times, how people have been evicted, how people have been used from the same community as to evict people who are staying there, how the what we call as Greater Cochin project has unfolded, the how it had made the lives of people, it has stranded many people historically. So these ways I thematically I like Kammattipaadam very well. It is one of the brave attempts I could call it in the Malayalam film commercial industry. So, people who may know the director's name is Rajiv Ravi. People who don't know, let me say that Rajiv Ravi is one of very prominent, brilliant, and cinematographers in Indian industry, Indian film world. He, with his collaboration with Madhur Bhandarkar, especially his collaborations with Anurag Kashyap in Hindi movies such as Gangs of Wasepur, Dev D, Girl in the Yellow Boots. Whatever the films, what we call as the best of Anurag Kashyap, most of them have been cinematographed by Rajiv Ravi. So Rajiv Ravi is famous as a cinematographer. Kammattipaadam is his third directorial venture. His first one, Unnamed Rasulum, has created a difference in industry. Coming to his third film, which has won many awards, Kerala State Award was won to Vinayak and the character, the Ganga's character. So there are several aspects which made me select this film in that. So coming to the film as such, the first thing strike me was the narrative structure of it. It starts from the main character called Krishnan, played by Dulquer Salman. He has been stabbed. he's getting into a bus, and the fragile thoughts which is coming to his mind has been used in the form of a voiceover to unfold the story of who he is, where is he from, what made him, who stabbed him, till the end of the film where the things are unfolding. So that narrative structure is very voiceovers has been, we have been seeing voiceovers as one of the narrative styles been used in many films. Even Martin Scorsese, filmmakers like many have been using it, especially in, I'm talking in par with the commercial industry, because this movie particularly has been it's a commercial release kind of thing. So I'll be talking in that terms. Regarding parallel cinema, we don't have a doubt about how they have used film language, the technical film language in many languages. So that is not the point I'm talking about. So in commercial industry, why Kammattipaadam becomes a word of topic of discussion is the first thing I should talk about. First thing I noticed is about how this fragments have been used. It has a non-linear style of narration, which is very much brilliantly used as the fragments of memory which is unfolding from the past of Dulquer Salman. So how it talks about, maybe how many of you know, I don't know, the Pulaya community, which is Dalit community in Kerala, was the major inhabitants of what we call as Kammattipaadam. The name Kammattipaadam is, as the director has said in one of his interview, is the name of the place which the current Kerala State Transport Corporation's Cochin base is working on. That KSRTC bus stand has been built in the marsh of what we call as the earlier called as Kammattipada. So it's not about only about one bus stand. How the entire Ernakulam, which has been a village, has been transformed into what we call as a Cochin metropolitan city. That is, it's not only about the story of Krishnan, Ganga, or the characters in that. It's also the history of how a small city or small place like Ernakulam has transformed itself into what we call as Cochin, as we call it now. People have gone to Kochi may know that the kind of roads, approach roads to each houses, it's still very small. It's very congested kind of pathways which goes to each houses in Kochi. I don't know how many of you know that. Still, it's congested kind of construction. So Kammattipaadam unfolds that history through a very brilliant drama which is written to it. How these people lived in these places, how their life changed when what we call as a privatization policy was adopted in our country, how it has affected, how the greater Cochin project, what we call the mastermind behind the Cochin metropolitan city, how it unfolded, how the land mafia had used it. So there are some historical relevance to Kammattipada. It's not just mere the story of few, as we see in our films, commercial films, but it has a very bright but a very dark and violent historical relevance to the story. How it's not only about constructions, how a community which was doing what we call as pokali, is a kind of rice crop. Their livelihood was going on cultivating pokali. There is a song in the movie which translate roughly, where are the pokali lands which we have raised. It has gone with the rice which you have ate, my son. There is the end portion. There is a, so it's, yeah. Hello. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I can continue. Yeah. In Alapi, in Cochin, all most of the places in Kerala, the Pulaya community was one of the what we call agricultural workers. They didn't had land. So the land question is still going on in Kerala. Maybe they didn't had land, but they were the workers who were working in agriculture. So if you see some of the scenes where for the earlier childhood scenes of Dulkar has been showing, the character of Krishnan has been showing, where in a stranded land, few people are trying to they have caught some fish and they're talking together. They're trying to take the water out of the pond. So suddenly two people are coming saying, I got this from the mana, what we call is the Brahmin house. I got as a gift from them. So this actually it's a reference to the there is reference to the land act which was brought in 50s in Kerala, which didn't which didn't get Dalit communities in Kerala didn't get any land from that. If you see historically, so Kammattipaadam is not only merely just a film which has a brilliant cinematic quality, but if people who know Rajiv Ravi and his approach towards filmmaking and his philosophy may identify this film much to it. But people who don't know much about the director find it like if you see in many other industries in recent years, we can see that there has been commercial movies which talks about not just the kind of thing which we have like in Tamil we had Shankar kind of Udalvan kind of movies which had Nai kind of movies which talk about political leaders, the question of democracy, one man saving the democratic setup of this country. That kind of politics is very safe to say in movie industries. But when it comes to the larger question of caste, larger question of class, larger question of the normal people who are living in this place, whether our movie industries or movie makers, filmmakers ever had ventured commercial space, whether they have ventured into it. We can see a lot of examples. Paranjit taking movies in Tamil industry is a parallel to that. Mari Selvaraj making Pariyerum Perumal. A few years we had Subramaniapuram kind of movies in Tamil. In Malayalam, we can call a different thing coming through. One of the major propagators is Rajiv Ravi. The major thing of Rajiv Ravi is that he's one of the cinematographer turned director. Usually in Indian film industry, we have a lot of cinematographers turned directors. Very few doesn't get caught in the eye of a cinematographer, grows into the more into a director. Rajiv Ravi is one of the rare species which don't have that only that cinematographer eye, which doesn't go with the drama. He is well known about the political space which the stories unfolding, political space which the stories is being told. So in that way, commercial cinema space, in the commercial cinema space, Kammattipaadam has, if you see in especially in movie online Malayalam online movie reviewing space, Kammattipaadam is still discussed. For most of the people are waiting for the movie which you have seen is 2 hour 90 minutes or something, very near to 3 hours. They had planned it as a 4 hour movie with all the characters having a backstories, their story arc going on perfectly, ending and starting. If you see in this movie, there are a lot of missing parts of each characters. which got lost in the 4 hour cut is what the makers are saying. So yeah, talking about the narration, we were ongoing that. After that, what I got is the migration part in that. Dulkar's characters, the Krishnan's characters go on, he migrates from several spaces. In his childhood, he comes from Alapi. It's why I'm saying Alapi is there is a boat which they are getting into in the song sequence, which says Edathua to Kochi, Ernakulam. They have been coming from Alappuzha. The first shot of that, after the first narration, it goes to the titles. The first shot, which the bus goes, there's a parallel cut there, where Dulkar's ticket thing has been parallelly cut into the song sequence which is coming, which shows about where two in two sides. It's full of paddy fields. The songs ends with a shot of a what we call as a drone shot of a landscape. So landscape shots are very important in this film. We have like maybe 7 to 10 landscape shots, which if we line up together will tell the story of Kammattipaadam's transformation. How story wise that transformation has been happened, how visually they have been showing that transformation in each stage of unfolding of story. I'll just share this screen. Nikilamam, can you make me a co-host so that I can just share a screen? I just want
I'll
to.
do that. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Done.
yeah. Okay. 1 second. I'll just. Yeah. So, is this picture visible too? Can you see it?
Yes, 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 it is yes. Visible.
Yeah, yeah. This is the first drone shot in that film, where after that bus travel is happening, the childhood of Krishnan's character, the camera goes on to a drone shot. Why I specifically say about drone shot is you'll know come to know when I scroll down to the drone shots coming in the later parts. Uh, this is the second one comes where in the Mumbai sequence where Dulkar is introduced as his bike is coming through a space. As a person who lived in in Bombay, I can identify it as Mud Island. It's an island which is in Bombay. Uh, so this is another drone shot which goes in the thing, which is showing the Mumbai city in the earlier stages. Third one is where after the dance of Ganga, these the Anita's character and her father goes into their house, which clearly shows the how the landscape of Kammattipaadam was when their houses was. Fourth shot is in the interval portion when the grandfather of Balan dies. There is a drone shot which shows the starting of the partitions happening in that. Fifth shot is a shot of after Dulkar coming back in search of Ganga. Krishnan coming back after in search of Ganga. It's a shot of a railway station, Cochin railway station. This bus stand has a relevance where it was built upon what you call as the marshes of Kammattipaadam. And the last shot where they are bringing the dead body of the character called Ganga. Why these shots have a relevance? The film, which the story of the film is in those 7 shots. The transformations of that place, Kammattipaadam, has been captured in drone shots in relevant places, which will give us the difference of how it was when they came into that place, how it became in that. I was talking about migration in that sense. Migration, there is an important point of migration in Kammattipaadam is that Dulkar's characters undergo 3 migrations. One is in his childhood, when he comes to what you call as Kammattipaadam. Then he goes to Bombay when he had a conflict with the character of Ganga, and he comes back to Kammattipaadam in search of Ganga. These three kinds of travels happens in that two is kind of migration to him. One, he's coming to Kammattipaadam and he going back to Bombay, going to Bombay. If you see, no other characters who have been born in Kammattipaadam migrates in that film. They live in there only. They either they die or they live in Kammattipaadam, or the transformed Kammattipaadam, as we can call a transformed Cochin metropolitan city. No other person in this film undergo a migration. If you see, the Ganga's character doesn't go. The friend, two of his friends, Anto and other character, doesn't go in a migration. So migration has a relevance where the main narrator character goes somewhere and comes back in to his route in search of his one of his friend who has had a problem. That problem, what is that problem? What created that problem is what we call as development induced displacement. It's clearly saying that the problem is development, how development has evicted the Pulaya community, Dalit community in a place, and built a whole metropolitan city, making them workers in petrol pumps, goons who is sidekicks of the land mafia, who's running the what we call as a building spree in the metropolitan city. So there are different aspects of migrations, which two aspects of migration. One is the native characters, the natives who have been born in Kammattipaadam, they never go away. They don't have an option of going away. In the middle portion of that film, where before the Balan's character get killed, he's confessing something. I know who has informed the police about the spirit van. There is nothing. Maybe it's because of the things which we have done in the past. Then he goes to meet his Surendran character and says that we have been evicting a lot of people. People are like staying in the city, like in streets and all. So let me say this: we won't be allowing this to happen here. That's a transformation character happening to Balan's character in that film. Ganga never undergoes that. So whenever the native characters undergo a transformation, when they realize they have been used, they get skilled in this film. That is a technique, what we call, that is a story which it tells about. Whenever the land mafia wanted to use them, wanted to make use of them, they try to use them. Whenever they questions back, they've been killed. Whoever is questioned back, even Dulkar comes back, the Krishnan's characters comes back from Bombay in search of something who nobody wants to inquire. He's getting stabbed, he's getting beaten up. So when it's a blood history of how that's the universality of Kammattipaadam. It's the history of eviction, which happens everywhere in the world. Every first world has been created by killing or evicting the natives of that place. That is a universality I find in Kammattipaadam. Uh, a few more screen grabs I'll just show how visually they have tried to convey the transformation of that place called Kammattipaadam is very brilliant. Maybe because Rajiv Ravi is a very good cinematographer, maybe because of that, or else he is one who has been knowing a lot of people in Kammattipaadam. He's the one who has been born in Cochin, so he has lived the entire history which tells in this movie, where how Great and Cochin project was formed and how it is now going as a metropolitan city such as named as Cochin. Uh, yes, one more thing. I just, yeah. Yeah. So, if you have seen in the first song sequence where kids are playing, from there, how that houses got a transformation like this, how their paths became narrowed, how their places has been divided with fences, how it is looking as a Kochi what we see today. That is a visual element which they have brought into what we call as the method of telling story of a history which happened in our place. If it is not told, I don't know how many of us may have known the name Kammattipaadam. We didn't know that the KSRTC bus stand of Kerala State Transport Corporation's bus stand in Kutsin is standing in the marshes of Kammattipaadam. So, third point I would like to say is about the class element, which Rajiv Ravi, the class perspective which Rajiv Ravi retains in his film. There has been criticisms towards him in portrayal of Dalits. In portrayal of characters of Dalits, especially the Ganga's character and the Balan's character, how their faces have been distorted, how it's been used cinematically, how distorted faces were used in cinematically. Kammattipaadam was heavily criticized by Dalit scholars in many Dalit scholars in Kerala as well as other places. It was criticized in another perspective that it never takes an Ambedkarite point of view, where the oppressors, people who are oppressed, taking revenge with oppressors. There has to somebody else coming and taking the agency of the Lits to take the revenge. Where Dulkar's character takes the revenge for the entire people who have been killed, who have been evicted in Kammattipaadam to Surendran. So they have been criticized by. I'm just posing out for a discussion. So Kammattipaadam is also criticized in that sense, where but I see, as I been very much following Rajiv Ravi as a filmmaker, as a person. I know how the political perspectives of Rajiv Ravi is, and how carefully he has retained the class point of view, where the end of the film Dulkar says that yeah, we are stray dogs, but stray dogs are together. We are like one. So the ending point of view, though it may see as one person taking revenge, like what we see in our commercial cinema, every commercial cinema where one hero character will be taking revenge with, for all the people who are behind. So there is no one behind Dulkar at all. I find it as Rajiv Ravi brilliantly keeping his very leftist class kind of perspective, worldview, which he has, spinning it towards his, taking it to his film in that way. But it has been heavily criticized. It has been heavily appreciated for the representation of Pulaya community in the film, Dalit communities in film, other Dalit communities in film. Same way it has been criticized for distorting their faces in such a way that it makes more distorted in certain there, especially Balan's character has a teeth which is coming outside. Ganga's character also, which has been very shabbily presented in certain sense. But Tulkar's character never go like that. Yeah. So these are the sum of my thoughts which I could grab when I see the movie. So it's a historical drama, what you can call it. How the people in power is using what we call as the natives of some places, how they are building city upon their bloods, how they are transforming a marshy city into a metropolitan city, taking the lives of people, taking the livelihoods of people. In that way, I think it is one of the brilliant attempts in the commercial industry of Malayalam cinema. Yes, I think I should stop. Yes. Yeah. Nikilama. Yeah.
Geeta, you have to unmute yourself. Geeta, unmute yourself.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Jishnu, for providing several insights into this film. It's now open for discussion. Anyone who would like to say something, please unmute yourself.
Uh, can I, Geeta?
Yeah, please go ahead, Nikki.
Yeah. So, thank you, Jishnu, for suggesting this film. I had watched it earlier, but I didn't mind watching it again. Thanks for asking us to watch this film, and also for your overview of the film, which was very comprehensive and drew our attention to some of the important issues in the film. Two, three quick points or observations that I made. Some of them you may think are kind of echoing what you have just presented. One is, of course, the aspect of the city and how the structures of the city kind of come up in places, where all these people, I mean, which is their dwelling, which is their place of dwelling, their habitat. So the transformation of that to create these, whether it's the metro or the huge complexes for rich people. So that transformation is very stark and very also very poignantly kind of coming through in the film. The second aspect is the narration, again, which you mentioned. The kind of narrative interventions that keep coming up by Krishnan, and the shuffling of time. So, how we go back and forth in time, and his incoherent memories. So we wonder, what is the reason for that? Although we know that there is this commitment to that he's going in quest of Ganga and so on. But two things that did not work for me was somehow the character of Krishnan being a kind of let's say a focalizer through whom we are seeing, or a narrative mediation through whom we see these Dalit characters, or at least Balan and Ganga. It looks like, they are presented through his eyes, and in that sense, they stand somewhat poorly. I don't know. This is the sense I got in I mean, in the way in which we evaluate these characters vis-a-vis Krishnan. So it seems like Krishnan is somehow more rational, and whereas Ganga comes across as irrational, somehow impulsive. He'll break into violence. So it's like we are seeing this irrationality built into Ganga through or via Krishnan. So somehow that didn't work for me. Also, I mean, I like Dulquer Salman's acting in other places, but in this film, he looked a little too superior to kind of establish a sense of empathy with the characters around him. So somehow he seemed to stand above or outside of the milieu, though he's obviously a part of it, but he's also like not a part of it too. So somehow that didn't work much for me. And the last aspect is this kind of male sorority or brotherhood. You see it in these college films, right? So where all these men bond together, and years later, they come back, or something similar kind of happens. Here too, it's as Anita says, she's like a pawn. I mean, tossed around, and as if she does not matter. So there's this very strong emphasis on this male brotherhood and sorority as something that marks this return to. So he's coming back as if to fulfill some great brotherhood ideal that he wants to live up to, or whatever. And also this question that keeps coming up: would Ganga have done this for you? And somehow we are asked to think that Ganga would not have, so Ganga would not have helped. So this mediation of Ganga via this character and this kind of male bond that gets created, these were two slightly uncomfortable aspects for me in the film. Though I mean, I enjoyed it in the second viewing just as I did in the first one, and would not mind one more or several more viewings of the film. So it's quite absorbing. Though it's a long film, it's an absorbing film. But these are my observations. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Nikhila. Jishnu, would you like to respond to that?
Let others also respond, then I'll come back to
Okay.
this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Would anyone else like to intervene at this point? Any question or comment? Yes, Kalpalata, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that what Nikhila ma'am just said, Krishnan somehow he doesn't fit in, and once we see him, we really don't want to see or hear the other story. We just want to listen to his story, and he actually he steals the limelight, and uh, he stands different from others, but at the same time I like the non-linear narrative and also the music. It is a very action filled music, which is nicely put. This is all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, to continue with what Nikhila and Kalpalata also raised this about the character of Krishnan, I think even in terms of corporeality, the bodies of Krishnan on the one hand, and Ganga and Balan on the other hand, they are very starkly coded to create that contrast. You have Krishnan, who is like light skinned as against Balan and uh, Ganga, as Jishnu said, with their distorted faces. So, and in terms of, cinematically, I think that also stands out very sharply in the narrative. Anyone else would like to say something?
Yeah.
Yes, Jayanto, please go ahead.
Yeah. Basically, I'll first of all let me say that I have some issues with the film, but having said that, I like the film very much. Somewhere at a very visceral level, it sort of appealed to me tremendously. But the fact is, what Nikhila and Geeta have said, and so has Kalpalata, I find that if one, I've heard this talk about the aesthetics of the Malayalam film, people talking about it. Here, it seems that he has tried to do something different, and yet not, because by and large, I hear this complaint that the protagonists or the lead characters in Malayalam films, they look different, than the characters of Ganga and Balan in this film. The they have what can be, in a very crude sense, we called as upper class and upper caste features, which unfortunately uh, we can never get rid of that feeling when we are looking at Krishnan vis-a-vis the other characters. I almost felt that I have seen this film somewhere else, wherein there is an extraneous element completely who comes and acts as a catalyst to change the lives of the others. It is almost like uh, the last song, Samurai, wherein the Keanu Reeves character comes and he is sort of converted to the way of life of the samurai, and he becomes the agent of change in their lives. So it doesn't really live true. And also the fact that there is a kind of a romanticization. This has happened everywhere. He may himself belong to Rajiv Ravi, to Ernakulam and Cochin and all that, but this is something which has um, happened everywhere. This is the story of urban development everywhere in India. Every city has been there, and it has, on the one hand, people calmly or not so calmly accepting it, and a whole kind of classes have come up who have become rich selling off their land, and we don't know what they have done with that money, and it has created a whole lot of sociological problems. But here, what is shown at least as different as that the people, the Dalits, particularly the boys, who are supposed to be at the same time. I mean, Ganga talks about long live revolution and all that. I don't know whether it is in jest or not, but then they are the compradors, they are the ones who are the agents of this change, in the sense that they are the ones who have managed to take the land away from their own people. And except for Balan, there is Balan, of course, accepts that he has done something wrong and he will be punished for that. So there is a certain amount of inconsistency. They're more as forces of nature rather than people. You know, that is what I felt about this film. And this whole aesthetics seems to be too you know let us say it is too thought out. There is nothing very natural about it, and particularly the characters of Ganga and Balan, the way their bodies are shown, the whole, as Nikhila pointed out, the corporeality of their presence, it is trying to make a point, but not really quite getting to it, not really quite succeeding. Yeah. Thank you. And so is the music. The music is also by Vinayakan, I presume the person who plays the character Ganga. And there is something elemental about the music, and the difference between the lyrical sweetness of the songs of the early migrations, as Jishnu puts it, from Alleppey to Kammattipaadam. The lyrical soft romantic, this thing changes, and the land itself is also quite conducive to that kind of a mood being created. And then later on, the intensely dramatized speech songs of Ganga, particularly when he goes to attend the marriage of, I don't remember his name, Bashir, his daughter's marriage, the song. I mean, there is a kind of, you know, talking about how life has been less than fair, but there seems to be this basic dichotomy in between what they themselves have been agents of and what fate has befallen them finally. I think that this romanticism with this land has not been resolved to the best of possibilities as it could have. That is what I felt. That it doesn't ring true, the romanticism. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jayanto. Um, Jishnu, would you like to respond?
Yeah. So first thing regarding the women characters, uh, I think many of the discussions which came online, I was part of few, which is very clearly has. I think I forgot to mention that maybe I had noted it. Sorry. Which has clearly criticized this male, especially this alpha male thing, which is being present in the film to tell the story of history of thing. By the time I remember once we had called Mari Selvaraj, the director of Pariyeru Perumal, for a discussion on film. So one crazy question came from a few from the audience about your film which tells about caste in its truest form doesn't have a single woman who understand caste in that matter. All the people who can understand the caste is men. Is caste discussion between only happens between men? Was a question posed to Mari Selvaraj, where he replied in different matters. But coming back to Nigila ma'am's comment on it, I think it's very evident in that it's a male story. It's a male perspective story told in that way. Rajiv Ravi has been criticized by many of the writers who have been writing, especially female writers, by the representation of Anita's characters. Though somewhere it has been presented as a strong woman, but in certain pauses she has been caught as a body in between two men kind of thing, which is I don't think it is a representation wise there are many issues brought out by many of the reviews, not only the reviews, many of the discussions which was happening both offline and online in many of the scholar things in many of the groups which has Malayalam has a very active film discussion groups in Facebook and other social media platforms. So coming back to oneness, I think Krishnan's character has been shown as somebody who doesn't belong to Kammattipaadam. The body doesn't belong to Kammattipaadam. The family doesn't belong to Kammattipaadam. They just comes there and stays there. He was never part of, though he has been the center stage of the story. He was never part of Kammattipaadam's what you call as the lives of Kammattipaadam. Apparently, the another crazy thing I can remember during the discussions was the characters of Ganga and characters of Balan. Though Dulquer Salman is one of the biggest stars, the upcoming stars of Malayalam industry, still Vinayagan's characters and what Manikandan, the Ganga character and the Balan's character got a very acceptance in the viewers. I don't know what triggered it. It's subjective to viewers. But apart from Dulkar, there has been many people who like I also believe in that sense where Dulkar's character is just a storyteller in that story, though for a commercial perspective he has been made as the hero of the movie. I still think the heroes of the movies are Balan and Ganga. Whether it's a tragic hero or not, I don't consider Dulkar's character, Krishnan's character for as a viewer, I got it like though he has been presented. I told in the end portion where that brotherhood thing which Nicola ma'am said, how they came together as how this men's league came together for that. But every shot, if you see, this representation thing has been very clearly put on. Dulkar has been never shown shabby. Dulkar has been never shown with any kind of distortions. Even his childhood character has been very much shown in that sense. So Dulkar's body in this movie, I think, is always is inappropriate with the people who are in Kammattipaadam, who has been living in Kammattipaadam, though he has a very good number of friends. That's why he migrates also. That's why I said the aspect of migration. No other characters in that movie migrates from Kammattipaadam. Only Dulkar's character Krishnan migrates outside. The Vinay Fort's character, which play the driver's character, doesn't come in Kammattipaadam. They got him from some other place. But Krishnan's the major character, if you see, none of them migrates. All of them stays there, lives there, and dies there. Yeah, if I said something. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jishnu, for your response. Anyone else would like to come in at this point? Another interesting thing about this character of Krishnan that I found was he reminded me of the typical 70s Bollywood hero, especially in the scenes in which he repeatedly bashes up multiple people, and but at the same time, what is different uh, from the Bollywood hero is that he's not conventionally the good as again the good hero as against the evil villain, which used to be the formula of the 70s Bollywood film. Because here you have Krishnan, who comes out of jail right in the beginning of the film for having killed a police officer. So there is that kind of ambiguity in terms of characterization of Krishnan, which I think adds another dimension to his depiction.
Yeah, I find Balan's character that way one of the most strengthiest character in that film, where who leads the gang, who tries to become the what we call the alpha male hero kind of thing, who becomes the hero of the gang, who understands what is going on, who is using us, whether we are being getting used, or are we serving somebody, or are we being led by somebody, or are we the one who are leading the team? So Balan that way, Balan's character, that's why there is. I find it like whenever the characters who, especially the Dalit characters in the movie, whenever they realizes their role, their agency, what we call, they get killed in this. Balan, when he realizes that, okay, I know what is going on and I won't be allowing this to happen, the Balan gets killed. When Ganga goes on a transfer, Ganga doesn't realize, but somewhere he's saying that I have been doing a lot of bad things which for them. So now when I call them, they can't take the phone. Yeah, they don't need to take the phone. That's the last dialogue which Ganga's father hears from him. So whenever there is revelations coming to them, whenever they are identifying their positions or their roles, they gets killed in the movie. So yeah.
Yeah, they get killed, I think, when their utility in the scheme of things is no longer there. So they are not useful anymore. So they are neatly kind of sidelined. And I mean, there are inconveniences that need to be sidestepped or crushed. So
Yeah,
that
I think they becomes not useful because they realizes who they are. Balan, until he realizes that there is some problem with the way they are doing, he was the best one who could help them.
Yes, Jayanto?
Yeah, another little point I'd like to make here is a very interesting comparison which could be made between this film and a film which happened maybe a year or two later, Kala. Uh, who's this iconic Tamil hero, Rajnikant, and it is based in,
Paranjits.
the Dharavi slums of Bombay, and which has been the scene for many Tamil movie in the past, Nayakan, which was remade into Dayavan and all that. It is exactly the same situation there, wherein the land mafia wants to grab all this land, which is a sizable, it is supposedly the largest slum in Asia, Dharavi, and mostly it is inhabited by, Tamil migrants, and this Maharashtrian politician and this, builder, they want to get this land from these people and build multi-storied, but it is only through the intervention of this character, Rajnikant's character, when they come together and they realize that they cannot let this happen, that it doesn't happen. Land mafia is unable to get the land. So I wonder if that kind of an end would have been. I really don't know how to comment on the politics of Kala vis-a-vis that of Kammattipaada, but the fact is that at least there, uh, the compulsion of the commercial film makes the right thing happen. Here, the right thing does not happen. I mean, the land still gets away from them, but we are unable to understand as to how this has happened, and the historical roles of the agents has not been either understood nor communicated properly. I mean, uh, and this whole thing about the liquor mafia turning into land mafia, and at the same time there is this angst of being the Dalit, this angst of being the rights being trampled upon, and there is this romanticism about a way of life which is disappearing. There is a certain amount of confusion. I would feel that uh, the film Kala, which happens 2 years later, has learned from the inadequacies of this film, and made something which may be a kind of a fairy tale ending, but at least it is also more believable. It is also more believable. That's
Okay. Thank you, Jayanto. Would anyone else like to comment?
Yeah, I think that comparison was, I find it somewhat. Uh, non-agreeable to that, because Kala, Dharavi is still not being transferred or transformed into anything. It's still in the hands of people who are inhabiting there. But when we come to Ernakulam, Ernakulam has been transformed to a metropolitan city as Cochin, and it's been in the hands of rich people who can buy lands there, who can buy flats there. And if you go inside Ernakulam, still now we can see that how the lives of people are there, just 5 or 10 kilometers inside that place. It I think they have tried to unfold that history, which transformed the city, taking out its native population, and build a new kind of what you call as, what in Kala term, a clean city kind of thing. But I think there is a two different cases which the films are taking on. Which one is a thing which had happened actually, how this lands has been taken from the Pulaya community, which is a Dalit community in Kerala. How who was traditionally the agriculture workforce of Kerala, how they have been transformed. If you see in one sequence before the death of the grandfather, Balan says a dialogue to that, "What have you taught us?" Is just to make what we call the crops, Pokali crops. It's not Pokali which is going to be getting grown in this, but flats and factories. A young generation talking to an older generation, saying it's not going to be the agriculture which is going to be the future, which I am part of that future thing, and you are thinking very traditionally. But same Balal in later stage understand that it's not going to be like, it's not what I intended. It's that we are just being used as pawns in this game. It's a larger game which is going to be which is evicting my people, and that's what he tells to Surendran's character, saying, "Okay, I'm not going to allow this thing to happen in this place." I think the way Kala is addressing a land question, and way Kammattipaadam is trying to address the land question is in two different styles. Yeah, whether it's perspective, whether it's which one makes a better uh, thing, a better movie or portrayal of Dalit characters, it's just a questionable. That's Community Padam in that sense was heavily criticized, as I said in the earlier thing. Full what we have discussed on how why Dalit characters agency has been taken, why their attempt to, why they are not being allowed in a film to take revenge for what they have taken, they have gone through. Why somebody else has to come, and that's what I believe, that Rajiv Ravi stick on to his more class perspective than other perspective.
Yeah. Sanjay, Tarkeshwar, Chandrasekhar, Sridhar, anyone would like to say something?
Shall I, if there is no one else?
Yes, please go ahead, Karthik.
Uh, I think has thrown up an interesting issue. I stress the word issue because that's what everyone is trying to market as. So that is actually the body of Dulquer Salman. Uh, what is this figure called Krishna is doing there? So Jishnu has tried to account for it, but others are trying to flag it as an issue. And why we are flagging it as an issue is something that I think we need to probe further. Is it because uh, uh, how do I put it? Uh, there's some problem with that body, that it doesn't fit into Kammattipaadam. Uh, it doesn't gel with the other bodies in that particular locality. Is that the problem? But that has been addressed within the narrative. As Jishnu has tried to point out, he is an outsider and he has come from outside, and he is also again migrating from that place and again coming back. So all this movement of that Jishnu tried to point out in the movie of this character, it also marks the transition in Kammattipaadam. So for somebody who is living in Kammattipaadam, they will not be able to see the transformations that are happening because they are living there. They are part of the transformations. So they will not be able to reflect on it. So somebody who comes from outside will be able to mark those transitions. So he is coming in and going out will mark those transitions. And in that sense, yes, the theme of this film, as the title suggests, is Kammattipaadam. So the plot is not about Krishna.
There's some problem with
Yes, it is said from the point of view of Krishnan, but in spite of that, it is about Kammattipaadam. Hello?
Yeah, there was a problem with your audio,
Is
sir.
there any problem?
Yeah, there's a lag in the audio.
Is it okay now?
It's better. It's better.
Okay. So, though the story of Kammattipaadam is narrated through the perspective of Krishnan, it is a kind of narrative tool that the film uses uh, because it becomes handy to mark the transitions of Kammattipaadam. That's apart. But are we also trying to say that uh, yes, he is an outsider, and through the outsider, the story of Kammattipaadam is narrated, and it is a necessary technique for the story. Apart from that, are we trying to say that it is the question of caste? So it doesn't gel with the other bodies. Or the caste is starkly marked through the body color, or the body becomes the marker of caste. Because for outsiders, we don't know to which caste they belong to. The body is the one which tells us the caste. Is this body is a real caste bodies, or is it an aesthetic representation of caste that our cinema uses? So by looking at these bodies on screen, are we trying to understand the caste of those characters? So is it an aesthetic representation that is already in use in the cinematic world that this film is also borrowing? Is the question that I'm trying to raise. Or it is deliberately representing Dalits in a particular way where the intention of representation is to mark a certain kind of people are having certain bodies. So is it a misrepresentation of the Dalit bodies, or following a certain aesthetic conventions of representing the caste bodies? Or is it the structural representation? Actually, the caste will have those bodies, and that is simply coming into the film. So, is it a actual representation, or is it a misrepresentation, or is it a conventional aesthetic representation of caste through the bodies on screen? I think this question has to be thrashed out. Unless we thrash it out like that, otherwise, what we are flagging as an issue uh, will remain as an issue. Will not be able to uh, go anywhere else. I think, and then the question of issue of real estate. Yes, the issue of real estate has been addressed in several movies, both commercial as well as what I can say, offbeat or bridge movies as a category has been used in the Malayalam film industry. And how each of these types of films represent the issue of land is something that is worth pursuing. How Kala is different from Kammattipaadam, or Kammattipaadam, is it different from the mainstream? Here also, Dulker is there. It has been narrated from his perspective. So it is more or less a commercial movie. Though it's a commercial movie, Dulker is not so highlighted. Though it is set from his perspective, Kammattipaadam is highlighted, or the other characters in Kammattipaadam are highlighted. So some of these issues need uh, attention. And then, as Jishnu was trying to say, here there is a generation gap that is being addressed. So it's not simply outsiders versus insiders. So it's very complicated things. How the insiders are party to what is happening to that land, and an outsider coming here and making his own and having some kind of nostalgia, even bordering romantic uh, uh, nostalgic romanticization of that land. All those things are there. So in that sense, this more slightly nuanced representation of the question of real estate. And is it because of this director and this genre, or is it because of the time in which we are living? So the urbanization in 70s and 80s, even 90s, and the urbanization that we are seeing uh, in the 21st century, uh, the pre uh, structural adjustment programs and the post structural adjustment programs, which is called as globalization, is something that we need to look at. Is there a difference in the way the real estate operated earlier and now? So all those issues have been raised, and this question issue that we are trying to flag in this film is needs further discussion and investigation, and are more nuanced arguments, I think. So I'll stop here.
Okay. Thank you, Sarkeshwar. Jishnu, would you like to respond?
I think regarding the cast body of Dulquer, uh, one thing I found was he has been presented as a clear cut outsider of Kammattipaadam, but who have been living through the experiences which he is narrating through the entire film. Secondly, in some of the very nuanced suggestions about the class of the family and the caste of a family, it doesn't fall as a upper caste body. I didn't find Dulquer's character as being portrayed as an upper caste body who was looking into the lives of his friends in the later stages of life. And regarding what Tarakeshwar has said, I think it's about Kammattipaadam, how the transformation happened to that place. But I say in the reception part, when you go through the discussions happening till the point where Vinayagan the character the artist who played Ganga's character, getting a state award for acting, like getting away the star persona of what we call star body of Dulquer Salman. I don't know how to put it also, but some way I clearly say that this body of Dulquer Salman, whether he has been never any, there is no visual cue or any kind of visual mapping or audio mapping which the filmmaker has done, which says that it's an upper caste body which is going to see the he is an outsider. That is very much clear in that. But the other thing, I am also confused. I was just scrolling through some of the visuals where, is there any visual cue of it? I didn't find any. Yeah.
I think the point that Jishnu raised, the reception of the Ganga's character and also Balan's character, generally in the Kerala context, is quite positive. Then I would suggest that this film is shaping a new aesthetics of representation, where uh, Balan's and Ganga's characters are not rejected but accepted without any problems. Though there might be comments in the social media about it, but the very fact that the awards have been given to these two characters, are the actors who played these two characters, is something that is worth pondering. So the film, instead of simply employing the aesthetic representations of caste that is available to it, it may be shaping a new aesthetics of representation too. I don't know. We need to think about it.
Yes, Jishnu, are you trying to say something?
No, no, I didn't say.
Okay. Would anyone else like to any more viewpoints on the issues being discussed till now, or something different from this?
One thing I constantly remember is when people compare this film, I find it more suitable with comparing to Fernando Merlis's City of God, in that way. I find certain musical notations very much relating to City of God's style also, where especially when the Balan's characters, grown-up characters starts to show up, the scenes from the grown-up characters of Balan starts to show up. Somewhere, especially in framing also, when he asks whether you want to fight that guy who has hit you, and the way they go and make that fuss in the market. I certain places I think that they have been inspired or taken from Merlis's City of God. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, if there are no more comments, maybe we should bring the session to a close.
Uh,
Yes,
Geeta,
yes, Nikhila.
no, just to say that I have a couple of announcements. If the
Yeah,
discussion,
sure. Please go ahead.
yeah, only if the discussion of the film is over. So just to say that,
I think it is because no one has unmuted, no one is speaking up.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this announcement pertains to the coming week. We will not be meeting in the Forum of Talking Films online the coming Saturday. There is an international conference that is beginning on 25th and ending on 28th. Many of us who are part of Talking Films Online are part of that conference. So that's why only for the coming week we are suspending Talking Films Online session discussion. However, I want to invite all of you to be part of the conference deliberations. I mean, you can, I'll post the details on the Talking Films online page and also share it in WhatsApp with all of you. So if you want to register and be part of the conference for all 4 days, you're most welcome to do that. But if you only want to come in on 27th, which is next Saturday, that is also fine because there are three very good, scholars of film studies who are speaking that day. Lalita Gopalan, Usha Iyer, and Hari Krishnan. They will be I think two of them will be speaking about dance in Indian cinema, and Lalita Gopalan will probably be speaking about her latest book on cinema. So you're most welcome to participate in the deliberations and in the sessions. For those interested, the Zoom link for 27th will also be shared. So this is just for this week, since we are many of us are busy elsewhere. Also, I want to share with you two more very important um, aspects. On 25th, in the same conference, Tarakeshwar will be speaking on theatre in the time of pandemic, translation in theatre in the time of pandemic. Geeta Vishwanath is participating in the virtual art exhibition. She's one of the artists whose works will be exhibited in the virtual art exhibition again on 25th. More reason for all of us to get together and celebrate, Talking Films online, friends' accomplishments on another forum. So this is all I had to say. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Nikhila, for this. And yes, as many, I mean, like I hope a lot of you will be part of the Cesure deliberations as well. And yeah, so thank you, and thank you, Jishnu, for this discussion, for leading this discussion. And thank you all very much, and good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jishnu, for the discussion.
Yeah, thank you.
And also
Thank
thanks
you.
others.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you,
It was a
Jishnu. Thank
little
you.
nervous discussion as I'm not at all a film studies scholar. Yeah,
Oh,
But
that's
it
not
was very nice.
required.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
don't know. Yeah, so
was a very good
thank you for
discussion.
inviting me for such a platform. It was wonderful
Yeah.
having a discussion. Yeah.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Jishnu. Okay.
Thank
Good
you
Good
night.
all.
night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
Bye.
Night.
Good night.